Hey everybody, welcome back to Taji's World of Books and welcome to another book series recommendation video. So welcome back, and I am here today to talk to you about another book recommendation video. Now this is a continuation of a series that I did in my last video, which I'll link somewhere above, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And that is for Karen Marie Moning's The Fever series. And I already reviewed the first 5 of these books in that video. And I talked about how that sort of seemed like a good stopping point because that's where the love triangle situation kind of resolved itself. Now the last 6 books in the series revisits the couples and the situations from the first half of the series, but it also brings everything into question. If you think of things like this, I'm going to say she does an amazing job of combining conversations that you've heard from Holly Black, from Sarah J. Maas, from Cassandra Clare, from Jennifer L. Armentrout. So all of those sort of great fantasy romance writers that write for the new adult and adult community, Karen Marie Moning brings it all together in one series. So in essence, she gives you a really cool, unique look at the Seelie and Unseelie court. She also brings in a conversation around summer, autumn, spring, winter court, the dawn court, night court, all of the politics of the Fae, the deception, the lies. She also brings in a really interesting sort of take on time singularity theory. So in essence, if time was on a singularity and you looped it back on itself, like how things and choices and decisions that we make loop and loop and loop, and that deja vu feeling that you have is an experience that you've had it before, and this time, rather than doing things incorrectly or doing things the way you did it before, you're doing things in a different way, hoping for the best possible outcomes. So that's sort of the underpinning of what this series is, and it is phenomenal. And again, I don't know why more people are not talking about this series, because like I said, if you love Cassandra Clare, if you love Sarah J. Maas, if you love Holly Black, if you love Jennifer L. Armentrout, if you love Sherilyn Kenyon, if you love J.R. Ward, this brings together all of the sort of dark elements as well as the light elements, as well as conversations about Fae Court that, you know, Cassandra Clare and like the Wild Hunt and Sarah J. Maas would bring in, but then sort of like the grittiness of the Unseelie Court that Holly Black would bring into the conversation. It really, I could see all of the, and then also what Sarah J. Maas is doing with this multiverse, like Karen Moning has already done this and put this all together for us. So again, if you love those, you will absolutely love this as well. So having said that, that is the underpinning. So if you want to check out the first 5 books that introduces the series, look at the video that I have already linked before. And now I'm going to go into the last 6 books of the series. And the most recent book was put out in 2021. And so she has officially completed this series. So it's now complete, because I was worried as we were getting into this. I was like, I cannot wait another year for this. So all right, so then the next book in the series is Iced, and this is book number 6. And this really then begins sort of the Danny O'Malley trilogy, if you will. It brings in all the characters from over here, and so what I mean by all the other characters, you've got Ryodan, you've got Kat and Cruz, and you've got Christian, and you've got Mac, and you've got Barons, and you've got all of those other characters who are there that come into this as well. And in this book, Danny is 14 years old, and Danny is a character who is like basically a throwaway. Like, she's a street kid, if you will, that doesn't have parents, but clearly she is a power and a force to be reckoned with. You're not sure she's human or not human. She clearly has some mythical powers, if you will. She moves very quickly. Like, think of like ADHD and like the Bugs Bunny, but like she's like on crack. She's like going fast, and she does this thing called freeze frame, and she can move through the slipstream. And I think the slipstream is like the air current. If you think of like how airplanes travel, and like it gets on that slipstream and it allows it to move more quickly, she travels in that way. But because she travels in that way, she eats incessantly and constantly and high calorie food, so it can keep her motivated and keep her going. Okay, So you've got Danny, and we're learning more about who Danny is. And Danny is a take no bullshit type of person. She's 14. She's going to do what she wants. She's going to say what she wants, and the hell with consequences, and the hell with like rules and restrictions, and like she doesn't understand adults, and she's just going to just do it. And if you don't like it and you're in her way, oh well for you. And she has no reservations and no remorse for what she's done. And part of that angst, and part of that is because she's so young, and part of that is because she's had such a hard life, and life has been so cruel to her that she's just going to do what she does. And like, come, you know, if you're in her way, like that's not your problem. Like either get on board or not, whatever. So that's Danny. But everybody loves her and wants to protect her. Then you've got this Christian character, and Christian is part of the Highlanders, and there's another series that Karen Marie Money put out, and it's the Highlanders, and it's set in Scotland, and I think it kind of melds these worlds, but it's a completely different world, and those are part of the Keltar clan, and they're an ancient druid group of people that have been bestowed gifts to protect humankind and to protect the Celts and the Scots. So that's a kind of a different story, but he comes from that group, and he comes into this conversation because, you know, everything in this world is falling apart in Dublin, and the Keltars have been sent to kind of try to figure out what's going on and to lend a hand where they can. So he hates Mac and Baron, and he hates some of the other characters, and we don't know why, and we're starting to learn why. Christian becomes a very significant character much later on. Christian has this ability to be a human lie detector. So like you open your mouth, he goes lie, 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 and he doesn't know why. He was gifted this druid gift of being a lie detector, but he is, and he uses it to his advantage to suss out who is truth and who is not. And we know that Mac from previous, like Mac is very self-serving, but she does what she does because she thinks that it's for the good of the race. She's much like, if you've read Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass, she's much like Selena Sardinian. She does what she does, you know, for the good of the race, but oftentimes it hurts people and hurts others, but you can't really, if you're trying to save everyone, you can't think about one person. Sometimes you have to sacrifice one for the greater good, and that's how Max sort of approaches things, and Christian just doesn't like her for that reason. And then we've got this new character that comes on the scene. His name is Dancer, and he has a mind that's like a computer. He's a science guy. He's a young kid. He's friends with Danny. They are very, very close, and he's going to be very significant in helping to understand why everything in this world is falling apart in the way that it is. And then we've got also from the Irish sort of mafia, we've got Kate and Sean, and something is happening with, and Kate and Sean have been together forever and ever and ever since they were children. They were childhood sweethearts, and now we have the introduction of this character named Cruz, and Cruz is visiting Kate in her dreams, and some things are going down. And so we really want to understand how this is all going to play out, and how this world, it just, the antes keep getting upped, and things keep going wrong. Even when you think this book ends well and things are wrapped up, you know that the story is continuing to be this ongoing multiverse, huge, epic battle and drama between good and evil, Seelie versus Unseelie, and a long-standing feud between the king and queen, the king of Seelie, or the king of the Unseelie, and the queen of the Seelie courts, trying to kind of get what they ultimately desire, which is ultimate power. And so that's what this is about. Now, because the last series, or the last book, ended on such an epic bang, when we got to this book, I was like, oh, and I didn't really like Danny O'Malley's story, and so I was a little bit bored because, again, like that was such a culmination. So this fell a little bit flat for me. So this was an overall 3. I gave this an angst of a 2, and there was 0 spice in this. Because, again, I'm going to classify this as fantasy or paranormal. Is it romance? It has a romantic element because there are relationships developing and people having to make choices about the good of everyone over my own personal desires and wants. So it does have that romantic element to it, but there is no spice, but it doesn't really need it because the story is so epic in and of itself. But because, like I said, the last book ended on such a powerful note, this one fell a little bit flat for me. The next book in the series is Burned, and boy, this one then jumped up, and just, I don't know what happened with this book and why this fell so flat for me, because this one bounced back with a fury. This was powerful. We've got new characters that are coming on the scenes. We're seeing old characters. We're finding out who the 9 are, and that's Barons, Ryodan, Lore, and several other characters, and like they're all there, and we're starting to these immortal beings that nobody knows what they are, but they're super, super powerful, and they're governing sort of what happens to all immortal beings. And so we've got Jada, Mac, Danny, Barons, we've got the Hag, we've got the Chester Club, we've got this character named Jada. She is like, who is she? Where has she come from? She is ruthless, she is morally gray, and she is a Seelie princess, and we never knew that Seelie princesses have existed before. Danny is missing. We don't know what's happened to her. Something happened at the end of this book, and she is now missing, and there are plot twists and turns, and there is just high drama in this book, and it is good. So this was an overall 5, angst-wise a 5, and spice-wise a 5. Powerful, powerful book. Then the next book in the series is Feverborn, and Feverborn, you know, the story picks right up where the last book left off, and we've got, you know, unseelie princes. We have 4 unseelie princes, and they are war, pestilence, famine, and death. And then we've got another sort of character from the Scottish Highlands that has been turned into something else. All the characters are dealing with some type of mental health issues. They're dealing with forgiveness. They're dealing with honesty. There's a really fun character in here named Shazam. We don't know if Shazam exists, if he's real, if he's not real, but he brings in some needed comic relief, and this ends on a cliffhanger for sure. This is overall, I gave it a 3, because again, that last book was so powerful that I was like, what am I doing here? But it was a trend. This is like a transitional book, so it was like a 3, an angst of a 3, and a spice of a 1. The next book is Feversong, and this is 1 year to the date of the beginning of the entire series, so you can see that time frames are really passing by. And the thing that's really different is that we're tracking different time frames. We're tracking human time, what exists in our plane. We're tracking Seelie time, which happens on the Seelie plane or in the unseelie court as well. And then when you are in the universe, like how many years are passing as well. So this is where we're starting to talk about time singularity theory, and it really is fascinating. Again, we have all the characters. We have another love triangle that's happening here as well, and we're trying to figure out who is going to end up with who and under what circumstance, and is it the right thing? And you know, characters are young. We've got some age gap situations going on. It is just a really, really cool and fascinating story. We have old nemesis that are coming back that we thought were long gone, that are back on the scenes. The story continues. Past rivalries are being settled. It is upping the ante on the next level. So, so good. And so I gave this an overall 5. I gave this an angst of a 3, and I gave it a spice of a 1. The next book is High Voltage, and everybody has a mission. Everybody is moving to where they need to be to handle their piece of the puzzle, leaving certain people alone to handle things on their own. Huge time jumps happen because they need to happen, because time, you know, people need to allow for development and, you know, for people to find that they can do things on their own. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away. I can say that there are very complicated relationships, and this is definitely the conclusion of the Danny O'Malley trilogy, and it ended on a bang, and it is so, so good. I gave this an overall 4, an angst of a 3, and a spice of a 1. And then the final book in the series, like I said, that just came out, this is The Kingdom of Shadow and Light. And this is every character that we have met from previous books enters into the story, and this is an epic battle to end all battles. It rivals for sure Kingdom of Ash in Sarah J. Maas's 7th and final book in that series, in the Throne of Glass series. It is really taking it to the next level, and everybody is coming in, and everybody is significant in some way to end this up. And this is the end of the trilogy, and it is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. I gave it a 5, angst-wise I gave it a 5, and spice-wise I gave it a 2. And again, it just didn't need it, but it was all there, and it delivered in so, so many ways. So this is so, so good. So you guys, like I said before, if you have not checked out the Fever series, I absolutely think that you should. If I haven't convinced you at this point, I don't know what will. I'm telling you, it delivers in so many ways. If you love epic fantasy, paranormal, romance series that brings all the angst and brings in various levels of spice and brings in various levels of conversation around age gap, around love triangles, if you like plot twists, if you like twists and turns, if you don't know where things are going, if you think you got it figured out, if you think that you're really good at knowing where an author is going and you're like, I got that pegged, I got you, I know where you're going with that, think again. She will fool you every time because nothing is as you think it will be. And there are times when you are a little bit confused because you're like, wait a minute, what just happened? I'm a little bit confused on this. It's not the easiest series to follow. Like, I think that you definitely need to read it at a time in your life, not when you're looking for something light and you just want to pass time. Like when you're ready to focus in, you want to catch the Easter eggs, you want to see like all the little nuggets that you think that you might miss. Like, this is one of those type series that you want to give it your attention, but it will deliver and you will be so happy that you did it, because in the end you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like that was an amazing ride. I'm so happy that I did it. And so I think that I'm going to go back and actually read her Highlander series. I think there are like 10 books in that series as well. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to go off and do some other things, but in time I will get back to reading this. And one of the other things that I want to say about this particular author is she's been writing in this particular Fever series. I think the first book came out in about 2005. She ended it up in 2021. She went through a significant debilitating period in her life. She experienced carbon monoxide exposure that causes long-term cognitive delays and damage, and some motor function damage as well. And one of her biggest fears was that she would not be able to complete this series because it was a very challenging and trying time for her. And the fact that she actually completed this and did this after 2 years of a debilitating illness is an amazing feat to be highly commended, because she did it stupendously, and my hats go off to her. And so I think that we should acknowledge that and support her, because, you know, life throws you curveballs, you know, and the only thing that we can do is fight through the curveballs, be true to ourselves, be true to the people that we love, and try to produce the best possible, you know, outcome or product that we can to the people that are counting on us. And this is what she did. So that is my plug for Karen Marie Moaning. That is all that I have for today. You guys, I am 1 subscriber away from 1,000. I really hope to hit that 1,000 marker pretty soon. So please do me a favor and help me out and hit that subscribe button so that you can know every time I upload a new video, which is generally 3 times a week. Hit that like button because it really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you guys in a couple of weeks, because I'm going on vacation, but I'll be back and I'll see if I upload things while I'm away or if I'm just going to rest up and relax. But that is really all that I have for today. I love you guys so much, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!